Hey, talking about how to use palm cooling in a sports environment. Okay, so there's going to be a few opportunities where in almost every sport that palm cooling can make sense. So if we just think even outside of the sport for a second, almost all athletes these days are doing some type of strength and conditioning program, and so it's been well researched and talked about a lot at how palm cooling can help delay the onset of fatigue and allow you to get better workouts. So we're getting more high quality reps and sets done at the end of a workout, towards the end of the workout, or more higher intensity of intervals if that's the type of training that you're doing. So all athletes across the board are probably doing some type of conditioning, and palm cooling has been shown to help with that. Now, certain sports, say basketball, volleyball, sports with frequent rest breaks, sports where you're working at a high intensity for probably shorter durations of time, a couple minutes at a time. Then there's a timeout or a break in the action, or you get substituted out. So basketball always comes to mind for me in this one. These sports are particularly set up well for using palm cooling in a game setting, right? So a basketball player goes in, he or she works hard for a few minutes, gets substituted out. While that player is resting, they can simply grab their palm cooling device and help mitigate that rising body temperature. Now, if they start this early in the game and they continually do it at timeouts, at substitutions, at other rest breaks, at halftime, come the end of the game, this could be a huge difference in what happens with that player's performance at the end of the game. So maybe that jumper isn't short at the buzzer. Maybe they're able to play defense a little bit harder against the other star guard. These types of things matter, and that's where palm cooling can make a big difference in a competitive situation. Okay, so think of your sport. If there's breaks involved, if you work at high intensities and you have rest breaks a few times during the game, or more frequently than that during the game, take advantage of palm cooling. It just makes sense. There's really nothing to lose here, but there is probably quite a bit to gain. It's just something that we have not thought about a ton up until recently. And then in practice too. So even sports that like soccer competition wise isn't set up great for palm cooling, right? So there's a 45-minute half, and then obviously you could palm cool during the halftime, but within the game there's no break where the players are coming over and getting a chance to palm cool. So certain sports just aren't set up as well during the actual competition, but all sports, including soccer, have rest breaks between drills or between events in their training, right? So even like in track and field or swimming, where you're just going to go out and you're going to do one effort, and that's going to be a sustained effort for however long that event is, right? So whether it's a 100-meter dash or it's a 200-meter freestyle swim, like you're just going to go out and do that one event in the competition. And so palm cooling, isn't probably going to make a big deal there. You could make a case for using it after the warm up to bring your body temperature back down, especially if you have a longer event. But for the most part, palm cooling is not going to be used in competition. But in practice, swimmers, runners, in those types of sports are doing drills. They are doing interval training, and that's when those types of sports are going to take advantage of palm cooling. Okay, so we've got swimmers who leave their palm cooling device on the deck, and then they, between their intervals or between their efforts, they grab onto that palm cooling device while they get the next instruction, or they have like their rest break programmed in. The same thing for our runners, track and field athletes, and the like. Okay, so all across the board, all athletes can use it in the strength and conditioning setting. Obviously, some sports are set up really well to use it within the competition because there's lots of frequent rest breaks. And then just about any sport in practice is another great time to have palm cooling available, because just about any sport is going to have rest breaks built in to the practice. Okay, so keep that in mind, all you athletic trainers, all you coaches, all you physios, all you people taking care of athletes and coaching athletes. Let's get smart about this. Let's start thinking about thermal regulation. Let's start thinking about temperature, just like we think about hydration, like we think about mobility, all these things that we tend to do to keep people safe and performing well. Temperature is that next realm, okay? It's the next thing to consider.